Two things. One, I am gonna work on my sales by chat, obviously, and just continue to chat to people. Now I've just made with my gym, I've made a local connection with the footy club. So we've got them coming down the gym tomorrow. So taking them through a session, and then I'm building out a 4-week course for those guys leading into their season. But that's all going to be online. So it's all going to link into this stuff.
Yeah, sick. Awesome. What about you, Carolyn? You're away, aren't you? Yep. And you uploaded a video to YouTube, which is good. Haley's off to a hints party, which is exciting. Cool. Off to Newcastle for 5 days, which is good. Awesome, guys. All right. So, Abbey, it's all over to you, mate. Paul's 4th birthday for his daughter. Awesome.
Thanks, Dill. Hi, everyone. So yeah, Dylan's asked me to give you guys a presentation on something that will help your business if it's not already present in it. And it's going to come from posting on social media, which you all are doing so well at already, but to elevate your content and your social media presence as a coach and as an influencer. And I don't mean that in like a influencer way, like the typical influencer, but you are an influencer in some regard to your audience. So this is to help elevate your presence on social media so that you can leave a long-lasting impact in the minds of the people that are watching you, that you may not know that are watching you, and that are actual prospects, potential prospects are literally just sitting there waiting to like come buy into your program. So this is to like actually help you get clients. And this concept is all around storytelling. And it's very fitting that Dylan's asked me to share on this topic because the Mamba man himself is a storyteller. And, you know, with a phenomenal career in basketball, he left the NBA or left his career in basketball to go on and actually write stories, be a storyteller, because stories are so powerful. They're an amazing tool for you to use and engage and connect with your audience. And the power of a single story can go so far beyond simply just relaying facts and data to people. It can be a really effective tool that can create customer loyalty. And it can emotionalize information. It can also show vulnerability in you, your experience, your journey. Because what you've gone through is essentially what someone's going through right now. So stories give color and depth to otherwise bland material, and they allow people to connect with the message in a deeper, more meaningful way. And those potential customers or clients can then connect with your product, your program, your service, your entire business in a way that will make you different. We all know that the fitness and the health industry is so saturated. So how do we stand out? Well, we all know we have to be unique and authentic to ourselves, but we need to know how to share that in the right way, in a powerful way. And I can tell you from experience that a lot of my clients have come to me purely off the base of me just sharing my vulnerability and my story. They haven't come to me because I know how to do a hip thrust, or they haven't come to me because I know how to lift heavy. They come to me because there's something in me or in my story that resonates with them on a deeper level. That's what gets them to build trust, relatability, and all these things I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, so this is all about how to sell with storytelling. So something that Kobe said was that what he loves about storytelling. He said, I love the idea of creative content that can inspire people, give them something tangible that they can use in their own lives. And the best way to teach isn't by preaching to somebody, it's by sharing stories. And I'm trying to build my whole business off that concept. And that's really, really powerful because it's something that we should all be, it's something that we all should be building our whole business on. Okay. So the power of storytelling. The most important thing to do is to try and inspire people so they can be great in whatever they want to do. Like, we're in the business of helping people. So if we want people to be great, we've got to be able to inspire them in a way. And storytelling is at the core of killer copywriting. It creates believability, trust, authority, and is the most authentic way to get your customers or your clients to take action. Stories evoke all your audience's senses and emotions in a way that no other form of communication can. So when you learn the right way to sell with a story, your copy practically writes itself. So I really, really love this, what do you call this, picture? Because what this shows is literally like, if you were to put like heaps of posts out about training, about like, you know, how to eat healthy, or, you know, the myths to fat loss, all these things, like solution, like data, information, kind of these posts that we sort of absorb so much of, and you see so much of these posts on social media. Like, I don't know about you, but a lot of coaches that I follow, they all just post such like, you know, here's a solution, here's how to fix this, like solution. But it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. It doesn't really, like, you don't really remember those posts at all, really. But on the other hand, when you see or you read posts that have like some sort of a story or some sort of an emotional feel to it, there's a problem that this person's going through, and you resonate or you have empathy for that person or that story, it creates emotion, and it shows up on this side of the brain. So you can see how this side of the brain is like, you know, nothing's kind of really stimulating it. And then you've got this side of the brain that's just like, it's triggering all these like neurons and the biochemistry of the brain. It's lighting up because you're feeling like the senses. It's triggering something psychologically in you that you either resonate with or you empathize with. So a good story evokes all of your senses. It makes you think and resonate with the words that you're reading, the story, that person. Okay, it makes you more curious. Okay, what's this person all about? What do they actually do? Then that's when they go in and they start stalking you, and they start scrolling, and they start seeing all of your content. They're, oh, this guy knows his stuff, right? And an example of this, actually, when I was putting this together, was I was actually thinking of this post that Dylan posted like a while back, and I went through his Facebook to try and find it, and it took me about like 10 minutes just to go back and try and find this post. It was from like literally back in December. But I remembered that post so vividly because when I read it, I was like, holy shit, that is so powerful. So I'll share it with you. It's actually this this post of like with him and his dad. So his dad passed away, and he was 170 kilos when he buried him. Like, just that first hook and line here goes, holy shit, all right, what's this about? And then Dylan goes on to say, like, 3 or so years ago, my dad told me he had a year to live. It messed me up a bit. My son Hunter was only 6 months old, and he had never met his granddad, and his dad was only 60. For most of his life, struggled with weight. Goes on to say that that it was 100% lifestyle and genetics made him become ill. But even as his dad was dying, he was trying to get him on the smoothies and like trying to like help in some way, but it was just too late because of the years of damage that had been done before. And Dylan's son did get to meet him before he passed. I think it made both my dad happy and also broke his heart knowing that he wasn't going to be around for much longer. And the look in his eyes was something that Dylan remembered so vividly and so clearly. And then Dylan says, like, our health is something that we have complete control over. We all have genetics. We all have an environment that we're born into, but we all have a choice. And my choice is to give it my best crack so I can hopefully see my grandkids turn into adults and my kids get old. That is like so powerful. And like when I read that, I was like, holy shit, like that's an epic post. I've even been telling him, like, you should do a video on this because it's like so freaking powerful. And like, look at the response, 260 likes, 28 comments, 5 shares. Like it's had a great engagement on that post. And that was back in December. It's now February. And I literally remembered that as I was like putting this together because it created such like an emotional response in me that I remembered that. So when you get these triggers and these emotions, when you write parts of your story or parts of your journey or experience, you get these sensations, touch, sound, feel. You might have even had goosebumps, kind of like, you know, you're living it in a way. So these posts, they create more relatability, they create believability in what you do and what you offer. At the end of the day, people buy people. This is why people this is what makes you unique, because people are going to buy you because they believe in you, or they want to be somewhat like you, or a little bit better in their own life. Okay, so classic story, right? Forrest Gump. We all know this movie, iconic, lives on decades later. You know, the story about a man who his incredible, unexpected life journey, no matter what stage of life someone's in, everyone can take away something from this movie, from this story. And we learn a lot when we see the world through his eyes. Life adventures from growing up, joining the army, starting a shrimp restaurant. He tells his entire story to a stranger that he met on a bench waiting for a bus. And it's inspiring to audiences because of the heart, the kindness, the lessons throughout. It's relatable. Oh my God, this could be me. Descriptive, evokes all the senses and emotions, introduces an obstacle, creates hope, creates need. Lives on into our brains. Think of those iconic stories and movies. Like they all live in us for years that go by. We remember them like when they come up, or when in conversation, or when we go through certain things in life or certain journeys or experiences. So when we create our stories, or when we want to create or tell parts of our story or moments that we've been through, experiences, I've got a simple framework that will help you make iconic posts so that people remember you, or that it sparks some sort of emotional trigger or psychological trigger in people's brains that go, I need to like keep up with this person and what they're posting, so I'm loving the content they're watching. And like over time, these people will buy into you because they believe in you. So some questions to ask yourself. Number 1, what is one obstacle or struggle that you've been through? Now, we've been through many. I'm sure all of you have been through so many. Think of your upbringing, your parents, your relationships, your struggles with food or exercise or training or hating your body, or like there's so many obstacles. Choose one. Choose one struggle you went through. Think of a moment that you went through. 2, what were the emotions that you felt through that obstacle? What were you feeling? Overwhelmed, frustrated, lost, didn't know where to start, fear, self-doubt, lack of self-belief, low motivation. Think of all these emotions. Think that there are so many people going through all these emotions right now. We need to tap into and actually think about what these people are going through, because we've lived through these experiences, we've lived through these emotions. So we need to kind of draw out, and yes, we have to get a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit vulnerable to be able to touch on these, so that we can bring to light what these people are potentially going through right now, that your audience are going through. And then number 3 is like, what was a major breakthrough that you discovered or you realized after or during this experience? What was that moment of realization? Was it like, okay, I've got 2 choices here. I either remain the same or I evolve and change. What led you to that moment? What happened? That's the part of the story everyone loves, because there's like some sort of a happy ending, or there's a solution, or there's a better way. And that's what we're trying to help people with. We're trying to show them a better way of living. Now, there's so many frameworks on how you can actually structure out your story and write out your story. But I've just come up with 2 because I couldn't pick one. So, framework number 1 is the Mamba's journey. It was called the hero's journey, but I renamed it. So, essentially, you've got the status quo, the old norm, the comfort zone, the limiting paradigm of your prospect that led to the gain, the challenge, the problem, the catalyst, the adversity, that disrupted the status quo, that motivated the hero to find a solution or find a mentor. And then you've got the moment of truth, the epiphany, the resolution, the breakthrough that led to this hero, or this Mamba, come through the other side, the other end. So you got that kind of a concept, right? It features this person as they're called to weaken their potential by setting out on a difficult journey, ultimately triumphing over adversity. And in branding and in marketing, the hero can be the brand or your program, the creator of the program, or even the client applied in this formula. The second framework that we've got is the Mamba future pacing, so the MFP. So we've got to let them imagine, illustrate a desirable action, outcome, scenario that the prospect wants to achieve. They want to be X kilos lighter. They want to break the plateau. They want to compete on stage. They want to fit into their clothes comfortably. They want to look hot in a bikini. They want to get a hot dad bod. They want to be best on ground in their sport. They want to go from average to an elite performer. This was similar to me on my journey. Like, I had this picture and this visualization of myself when I first started. Like, literally this photo was like in my mind for like 2 years. But how I had to get there was go through the journey. So we have to help them relate by expanding further, by tapping into the emotions that they want to experience. So they want to feel more confident. So what do you want to be at the end of this? More confident, stronger, powerful, unstoppable, loved, respected. Be a role model to your kids. Be a leader. Be an inspiration to others. Be dedicated, committed, consistent, disciplined, elite, great. All these people out there, they want to feel at least 1 or 2 of those things. What do they need to do in the midst of their process to get them to create a new reality. So we've got to make it their reality. You have to present your program or your service as a way to help them actualize that reality and lead them from pain to relief. So this is going to come in the form of like what you offer in your program. Like what is the relief to the pain? Community, support, accountability, personalized plan, pain-free solution. So future pacing is like a type of storytelling that allows the person reading it imagine themselves in the future. So by using the present tense in your copy, your prospect can visualize their dream life as if it's already happening. Help them see that there can be a reality after using or coming into your program, right? Now, I've heard a few of you guys actually mention in the calls that, you know, you don't know what to write about, you get writer's block, you don't know what to write about. That should never be your problem. The problem you should have is like, I have so many ideas, I don't know what to post today, or I need to plan out my content because I've got so much of it. You should have a lot of content. You should be gathering ideas every day. And these are some ideas for you to grab from, save, file, store, to use later on, or to rewrite. So journey defining solutions to your prospects' problems. Hint, look around and look within. Look within yourself at your experiences, your journey. That's number one. 2, look at your friends, your family. Who have you watched go through struggles? Who have you watched go through adversities? Maybe you can rewrite their story. How did they break through? How did they come to the other side? Did you help them with it? So number 1, your story, your moments of struggles, your low points in your journey. 2, another great way to get people's ideas for your copywriting, for your storytelling, is client check-in responses. So if you have a question in your check-in that says like, what do you need to improve on, or what are you struggling with the most? Those are really great answers that you can rewrite or put into a post or make a story out of. Client sales calls. Whenever I take a client sales call, I write down all the notes from that sales call from literally start to finish. They literally open up. I don't know if you're taking notes or not, but these are really great to save. I actually save these in a folder, and sometimes I'll come back to them for when I need like inspiration to write a story, or do like a before and after like transformation post and go, you know, my client went from plateau to building momentum. This is where she started. This is what we went through. This is where she is right now. So client sales calls are very, very powerful. Client transformations from start to now, like I just touched on then. So you can actually use the clients that you've actually had in your program from the start to the end. You know, what was that journey like? Where were they? What did they go through? How did they come out the other end? How are they feeling now? What's been the result? Obviously, your friend or family member who's been through a struggle. Or you could even go into forums like Quora. Facebook groups are good. Facebook and Instagram saved folders. So what I mean by that is Instagram stories that you can actually save into folders, your own folders that you can come back to. So if you see another coach or influencer or person write a post, I always just actually save it and put it into like my content folder. And I've got so many posts just there ready to go for inspiration or to rewrite in my own kind of way. But ultimately, you want to be your own inspiration, because people want to buy from you, or you want people to buy from you, and people buy people. So you want to try and put as much of your own experiences and vulnerable moments that you've been through into your story writing, copywriting, right? This guy was an absolute legend, and he could tell a story like one of the best. And I was actually saying to Dylan before, it's such a like devastation that he has died, because I honestly reckon he would have been up there with like the Steve Jobs of the world, the Walt Disney, that like, you know, the ultimate, like the Steven Spielberg, the ultimate like gurus, like iconic people of the world. And it's so sad that he's died. But he said that the game in essence taught me the art of storytelling. And without it, I would not have an Emmy. I would not have an Oscar. I would not have creative dreams and visions to still unfold. Yeah, basketball took me everywhere, but now I'm taking the game everywhere. And I think that is just absolutely epic, because stories live in us forever. Yeah, you can provide like education and data or information to people and show your authority and show that you know shit. But people actually want to know who you are before they buy into you. And I think that's way more powerful, way more impactful on your business, to create more business and to leave a really beautiful, lasting impact on people's lives, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to shape, change, and impact people's lives for the better, for the long term. So hopefully that was so inspiring for you guys that it's giving you some like ideas. And I want to actually tap into maybe what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Like maybe you've written down some notes already, but just take like 5 minutes to write out like one story concept, not start to finish, literally just like 3 to 5 dot points of like one concept, one like struggle, one moment, one like experience that you had, like a conversation you had with somebody. It could be anything. You might have a million right now. Just choose one. Take a couple of minutes to do it right now, because I would love for you guys to share it. And yeah, so just take a few minutes to write it out. Just a couple of things. You can even think of a really cool headline, but the headline might come from you just like actually thinking of that one moment, because sometimes just grabbing someone's attention by that low moment that you've had can be a really good starting line that can hook people into sort of like create curiosity around what you're about to dive into. So just take like a few minutes now. Once you're done, you could either maybe put it into the chat, or we can go around the room and share. If you don't feel like sharing, you can also like, that's cool too.
Abs, I can share on if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm pretty bad at this. I was saying to Dylan earlier today that I don't tell my story enough, and my story I think is fucking sick. I played footy until I was about 22, and I tore my ACL, and then came back, played another year, and then I'm going to have a year off. 9.5 years later, I never came back. I traveled the world, became an internationally qualified snowboard coach, became a surf guide, ended up in London, back in the fitness industry, came back to Adelaide and built my gym. And I've never really told my story. Like I was just mentioning before, I'm heading up a football club tomorrow. But if I was to tell that story, that I played footy before and after that trip, and unfortunately did an ACL before and after that trip in both parts of my footy career. But in both times, I've come back through my rehab, through the type of style of training I've done, to come back and continue to surf, snowboard, and do all the shit that I do. If I could sum that up into some sort of a story or clips or whatever, it would almost already sell my program for me, because it tells you that it fucking works.
Yeah. So. And that's epic. Like, I'd also think like that is basically like your entire story. Don't like, if there's one thing I can like give you advice on, it's like, don't put the whole thing into it. But like that one moment, like the ACL injury changed my entire life.
It did. Yeah. Both times. And that's the bit that I would touch on, because that's what many players have gone through and hopefully never have to go through, but would understand and empathize with, because they understand what kind of injuries that creates.
But there's probably 5 stories just in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
There's probably more, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like just that one moment, that pivotal moment that you thought that you were going down this track, but then you pivoted and you went somewhere different. Like that's really, like, I really want to like know what happened, you know, like, and this is the thing, it like creates that like curiosity to know
That if
more.
I hadn't had that knee injury, I wouldn't have been able to do half the stuff that I've done in my life. I would have been on the same trajectory, just still playing footy and stayed in Adelaide. The fact that I had the knee injury is almost what set me up to then be able to travel the world and learn all the stuff I've learned in the fitness industry to be the coach I am now. So yeah, all that stuff you were talking about really resonated with me, because I'm like, I really need to tell some of this stuff somehow.
Hell yeah. And you know, there's a lot of people out there that think that injuries are holding them back, when actually they're probably just a really powerful, pivotal moment or a learning lesson that they're about to embark on. And if you can turn like an injury into something that's going to inspire them to be like, oh, okay, this is like a growth moment for me, then that's going to inspire someone to maybe someone's going through that right now, and they think that they can't do anything because of this injury. Well, no, you actually can.
Yeah, I've never watched it since it happened, but I've got the footage of it.
Yeah, no, that's epic.
Thanks, Abs. I appreciate
so much in there.
everything you put out there today. That was sick.
Thank you. Thanks. Does anyone else want to share? Haley, Audrey?
I can share if no one else is going.
Yeah, go.
First of all, that was sick. Like, you spoke so well for a presentation for a bunch of people you probably haven't actually met in person. I don't know if you've met Dylan or whatever. That's like, just hats off to that, Abbey. Really well done. I think the other great thing as well is that, like Rusty just mentioned, you've automatically just sparked responses in his brain, as I'm sure everyone else, like myself, have just gone, oh, I could do that. So I think that's powerful. Like, the best thing I love about getting on a coaching call is when we can literally take something and use it straight away. It's like implementation as soon as possible and like get a result from it. That's fantastic. I think something that resonated with me is, if I had $1 for every time someone has said, oh, and this is coaches, right, that talk to me, and they're like twice the size of me, they've done powerlifting comps or whatever, and they're like, oh man, I just wish I could connect with clients the way that you do. You know, I have a tribe thing where, like, we have Christmas parties and everyone just raves about our community, right, for the guys in the gym. But I think the big thing for me is my response to them is like, well, haven't you got any $5 stories? And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you don't need to have lost 90 kilos like me to be able to help someone lose weight. You don't need to have, you know, all these crazy life-changing stories. Like, I actually flip it on its head and I go, well, I've actually got probably 50 $5 stories that I keep in my back pocket, which is essentially the back of my head, from clients that have won or had success or whatever. And those, like, I try to make sure I've got a nurse story. I try to make sure I've got a teacher story. I try to make sure I've got a single mum, single dad story, all that sort of stuff, so that I can just fire them off as responses. So it doesn't matter if I'm selling someone online or like a consult in person for the gym or whatever. Like, I have something I can relate to them. Now, again, my story I do share, like, don't get me wrong, but for those of you out there that are like, oh, how do I connect with my clients more? Yeah, like you said, Abbey, like, the story doesn't always have to be this big monumental thing. Sometimes it's just one relatable thing you've gone through, like Rusty with your injuries, for example. Like, and that can speak volumes to people. And again, I related to something that Brad Bedford's told me heaps of times over the years since knowing him. Less is more. Like, sometimes just finding that one thing that connects with that person, it can life change within an instant, as we know. But sometimes especially me, we overtalk, we overthink, we try and fix 50 problems instead of just focusing on one thing. And that's where this storytelling, I think, like you said, have a direct thing that you just post on one thing. I think that's awesome. Like, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. But like, it can just be like, even it could even be like things that stay with you, like, okay, like conversations, for example. So I had a conversation with a lady that she was like, oh, no, I'm 40 years old. I have just like completely just disregarded carbohydrates. Like, I just don't eat carbs anymore. Like, I'm over 40, I just can't eat carbs. That's literally been something that's been in my brain. And it's something I could write about. Just that one concept. So it actually doesn't even have to be like your story, because your story actually has a million stories attached to it, a million little like conversations that you've had, little moments of doubt when you went to face something or do something. Like there are so many little intricate things that have happened along the way. You just kind of have to take a moment of reflection sometimes and just draw out these little moments and then kind of expand on them a little bit. And Noxie, like, I'm sure that you've shared your story, but maybe you could share your story a little bit differently or from a different perspective. Or like, you don't have to just rewrite your story once. You can actually rewrite it a million times over in different ways to sort of like come from different perspectives or different moments in your journey, in your experience. Because the more we can actually talk about our story and in little different ways, the more content we've got, the more relatability we can put out, and the more people are going to hear our story, maybe in a different way. It might actually connect with them in like a different way that goes, fuck, okay, that hit me. Like that was the one. I've got to reach out to this person, you know? Because if you rewrite it one way, it might not click for some people. It might click for a couple, but then if you rewrite it a couple of other ways, it might actually click and kind of resonate a little bit more. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The fundamentals of my story are always going to be the same, right? I was a really big dude. I struggled with, you know, being alone and single and all that sort of stuff. Never had a girlfriend, all the usual suspects. But I think what you're saying, like I said, it sounds really good, is trying to find just slightly different touch points that you dive into. Yeah.
Perfect. Do any of the ladies want to share?
I don't know if this is so much, I guess, my story, but more of like an observation as like I grow up. But it was like sort of two grandmas. One was always overweight, and then as she got older, like struggled with mobility, needed a walker to get around. Without the walker, you had to like support her, like to get in and out of the car and things like that. And I think some vehicles, like my mum and my auntie bought Pacific vehicles so she could get in and out of them a bit easier. So that was her. And then I've got my other grandma who's 82 this year, still riding horses. And only stopped competing when she turned 80 because she thought she was too old.
Wow.
So it's just like two, like I guess like observing two very different lifestyles and as a child and like to now, and just seeing how like that's affected their life and like their quality of life and what they can and like can't do.
Totally.
That's like,
actually just reminded me of like that book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
yeah
Yeah, a rich dad and a poor dad.
Yeah,
similar thing, you know, one had one way of living,
yeah, and then like one on heaps of medication, one on none, like all those sort of things too.
And that could be a really interesting concept to touch on more so, I think, with like the future pacing framework, in that you get them to imagine what they want to look like and feel like and do and be when they're 80 years old. Do they want to be this, or do they want to be the grandma that is overweight, can't move, has no mobility, health is in the shit? Or do they want to be this fit, healthy, thrives on life grandma, this like living her best life? You know, you could paint the picture of both and somehow come up with a really powerful post that could put a lot of things into perspective for people to start thinking, what the fuck do I do now? What should I do?
Yeah.
Maybe it's you that they come to get them on the right track, to get them started. Super powerful.
And then like in terms of, I guess, like patients at hospital, the only ones who are over the age of 80 not on any medication or get to the age of 100, they're the ones who are still active, still healthy, able to talk, do this and that. And like you still obviously get those freak events, like if someone has a heart attack, and there's nothing that's going to prevent that, then they're obviously going to end up with a lower quality of life ongoing, but then you've still got those ones who obviously look after themselves and have done all this and that and just naturally live good. And they're the ones who, I guess, live longer, but also live with a quality of life as well. They're actually able to do things.
Yeah.
And then if you've got a lot of time, then you sit down and listen to what they've got to say.
Yeah, like you could be really like honest in that post that you write. Imagine this. You wake up, you struggle to get out of bed, you struggle to put your shoes on, tie your shoelaces up, put your clothes on. You struggle to walk to the door, turn the door handle, walk down the hall. You're puffing on the way because you're like, you know, paint the picture. Like, what is this person going through? How are they waking up every day when they're at this age? What are all the decisions that have led them to actually get to that point? They go into the kitchen. They take 15 minutes to make a coffee because their system is slowing down. And then they open the fridge and they've got no food in the fridge. They're waiting for their Meals on Wheels to arrive at 11 a.m., which is 2 hours away.
I do delivery for those as well.
You know, but paint the picture. It doesn't have to be a real, like sometimes it doesn't even have to be a real story. This might not actually have happened, but you could paint the picture of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You know?
No, it's quite enlightening, I guess, like working in hospital and seeing that, because the demographic that we serve is like highly obese, like the most obese population in New Zealand, and
Wow.
like, well, South Auckland, if anyone knows.
You have so many stories then.
Yeah.
You could like literally, like if you're going in and delivering, like you can imagine like what they're probably, how their day probably looks.
Mm-hmm.
You could paint that picture of how their day actually looks and go, rewind 50 years earlier, you know, this is what they've been doing, this is what they've been doing their whole life.
Yeah.
Do you do you want to end up like them? Yes or no? No. My program, the CTA, like have, you know, like
like healthy living, disease prevention.
If you want to prevent yourself from being in this situation, I'd love to have a chat with you more about that. Book a call via the link in my bio. Boom. You know. Does anyone else want to share any last minute story sharing? It's pretty cool, hey. Like I love like stories. I love hearing like people's stories. I think like it's really interesting, and it gets to know, like you get to know that person. Like Rusty, if you had never shared like the fact that you had an injury that pivoted your life in a way that gave you all these other experiences other than a football career, I would never have known that. But you have so much relatability to so many men out there that have probably definitely gone through exactly what you've been through. You have so much potential like clients and prospects literally just sitting there.
Abs, can I just ask, because I get that, like that's all, thank you. And it is true, because like I wouldn't have told that story unless you asked. But how do you, like I was trying to read what you said there with the Mamba story, like telling method, like how do you take that? Because no one, like I don't want to make him look like, hey, do you want an ACL injury so you can go through what I've been through? Like how do you take it as like, this is what I went through, and so that this doesn't happen to you, or if this has happened to you and now it's stopped you from playing or it's stopped you from being active, you've been injured before, and then you just, because you got injured, you're not doing anything. How do you sort of turn that into a story, like a post, like you said? Like how do you make that into, like, how does that attract people?
Do you mean like the CTA at the end or the actual story?
Well, it's like, if I just went on my IG now and just like, hey, this is me getting injured, this is me recovering from injury, this is me now being a badass on a fucking surfboard, or whatever. Like, do you want results like this? Call me. Like, how do you like tell the story in a way that like, yes, I have gone through an injury and come back stronger than ever. Would I only be speaking to people that are currently going through an injury or have been through an injury? Like, how do you sort of turn that into a story? Sorry to make it.
That's okay. So, a couple of things. You said, who do I speak to? People who are injured or people who have been through an injury? Both. They're two different people. Boom, you got two concepts or two audiences to speak to. Someone who's going through an injury. If you were to tell your story, you could come from the perspective like, I remember the devastation I felt when I tore my ACL injury. I tore my ACL. I was broken. I was upset. All the emotions I was feeling because of the pain that I was feeling. I'm just literally making this up. And the pain that I was feeling was just so pivotal because I knew that my football career was over. I thought,
I agree with all the emotions and stuff, but what would you say, like, because I can tell that exact story and you did a really good job of telling it. What is the, after you've told and you've explained, like, this is where I was and this is where I'm going, what would be the end result that you'd want someone to get to?
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was getting at. So you tell the emotions, and then you get to the end, you're like, and now I look back and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so blessed that I had that injury. It was the greatest thing that ever happened. If this story resonates with you, just know that this is just a pivotal moment and a blessed blessing that is going to happen for you because so many good things are going to come. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, give them hope.
Yeah.
I could jump in with a quick framework as well. So like a really good framework for storytelling in terms of like just getting, it doesn't matter what story it is you're telling, like you always want to start with a bit of a hook. And so essentially you have your hook at the start. So have a think about what your story was, man. And Abbey did a really great job there of presenting the story from your perspective. And so as you're sort of looking through your story, think about, the hook could be like, I woke up one morning and I was absolutely devastated because of like this. And then, so that's essentially a cliffhanger hook. So you got to have some sort of hook to get people to start reading. Then what you go into is you go into the struggle. You essentially go into the hero's journey. So you cycle through like I was just at the peak of my footy career. I was going to make the AFL. And then all of a sudden I got an ACL and now I couldn't make the AFL because I got an ACL tip, like just whatever. And then you sort of talk about that and you roll through it of like essentially the pain that you had to endure. Then you go through like the solutions that you found. So whatever it was, like, and then also coming out the other side. So if you think of it as like Luke Skywalker, so Luke Skywalker's like, I'm not a Jedi. And then so they sent him off to Yoda. And so in the swamp, he's like, you can't do or do not. There is no try. He had to learn the lessons from Yoda to become who he wanted to be. Then essentially he came out of that with all of this new knowledge and all of the stuff he'd learned. And then he had to go and face Darth Vader. And that was his final test before he became, the hero of the story. And so you sort of walk them through your struggles, how you sort of came across mentors, solutions, that sort of thing. And then essentially how you came out the other side, like with the solution. And then you just break it down into 2 or 3 points of like, hey, look, if you are going through this, dot point 1, dot point 2, dot point 3. And then it's like, look, I know this is a real challenge for you guys, like a little bit of empathy. I know this is a challenge for you guys. If you'd love, I'd love to leave my door open for a bit of a chat, and we can sort of have a chat through that. But your framework is like always have a hook. Then you go talk about your struggle and how you found the solution. So essentially the hero's journey. And that's pretty much the brunt of your post. Then you have a couple of key takeaways. So I always, like most of my posts, you'll see I'll give 2 or 3 things that are valuable as well. And I'll always have some sort of story. that is either related to myself or a client, then I'll give 2 or 3 things that essentially will help get that same result, like a couple of lessons or a couple of things that I've learned or a couple of tools. And then you have that call to action at the bottom. Cool. Does that sort of make sense, guys? Is that helpful, Rusty? Was that?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I just sort of took a couple of notes there, but that's struggles, heroes, you had a couple of points, value, get the same result, and then a call to action, which might be get on a call or whatever.
Absolutely, and it doesn't even have to be that. It could be like, hey guys, look, I've got a couple of videos on, the basics I do every day for my knee. Drop a comment below and I'll send it over to you. Boom, you got them in the DMs, you're away.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah, so it's the same sort of frameworks all the time, and understanding the power of the story and understanding how to tell a story, but it's the same frameworks all along. You got a headline or a hook, walk them through the story, give them some value, give them an incentive to learn more, which is in your case, hey, here's my 2 exercises I do every day to make sure my knees are good. Drop a comment below, I'll send you over a video. Boom, you've now got them in a sales conversation. So that's how you sort of work through it.
Yeah, sick. Thanks, Dills. Thanks, Abs.
Cool.
No worries. I'll show just a couple of hooks that I've put into some of my posts. What's holding you back from achieving the life that you want? What are you afraid of? Another one. I used to cover up the parts of my body I didn't like. If you do not care for yourself, you will not be strong enough to care for anything in life. It's kind of a bit of a very confronting, very makes you kind of want to go, what the hell is she on about? Or what's she talking about? Or what does she do? I did a starvation diet to lose weight and I wasn't any happier than when I started. This got actually a lot of engagement on the post that I had. And then I go into the story. You owe it to yourself to be successful. Gives them hope if they don't feel it. Relying on motivation won't get you far. I know, have kind of a hook, line, and sinker that ropes them in and goes, what the hell is this person talking about? Creates curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main key of a hook is you think if you're going trout fishing in Lake Pukaki in New Zealand, which is that lake behind me, cool. You're going to need a completely different lure than if you go fishing in the Brisbane River here, which looks like a bloody sewage pipe. Okay. So you got to sort of think about those different things. You got to create curiosity for the person you're looking at, or you're trying to look to make it read. And so with your hooks, you've got a few different things. As Abbey said, you want to generate curiosity, and one thing you can do is you got to think about creating an open loop. It's almost leave a little bit of a part out of it. Ask a question, don't finish it off, so that they're let's say, for example, that thing with my dad, it's when we buried my dad, it was 170 kilos. That just leaves it completely open. It's it's got people thinking, fuck, this is pretty deep. And then the line underneath it just invites more reading, and you're trying to basically, you only have 2 or so seconds, okay? And if people don't read that first line and think that it's got something to do with them, and I always go into it, this is why we say make your avatar a real person. Every time I'm posting, I'm thinking about one person that I'm posting to, okay? And so that's the best thing is if you can think, if this person was reading that, and in your case, Rusty, is think about yourself before your ACL tear. And that's been Patrick's story. Is all I'm doing is creating stuff for 12-year-old me, so I don't have to go through knee injuries. And so that's why you write it for, is if only I had this stuff before my ACL tear. And people oh shit, I don't want an ACL tear. What is this about? Cool. And so that's that rhetorical, that's that sort of cliffhanger. That's oh, what is he using that he wish he had before? An example for me could be, I wish I had known this before I started sharing, and things like that. Or, if only my client who developed type 2 diabetes had done this beforehand, now she wouldn't have had type 2 diabetes, And so it's just trying to think of who am I actually posting to? How am I able to get them to think, hey, shit, this is about me. This is talking about me. And quite often what you'll get is you'll get people just reaching out to you. And I'll be like even when I posted that thing about my dad, I had a heap of dads message me, you know, like, shit, dude, that fucking hit the mark. Like, you know, because that's my big thing. Like, I don't want to be 60 and looking at my son and knowing that I've got a year left to live, you know? Like, that would just fucking eat me alive. And so, like, that's literally what drives me to get off my ass and go to the gym when I don't want to, you know? So, and it's like, I knew when I posted that, I was, for me, everything I post or everything I do is, I just want to help people think a little bit better so that, you know, they're able to improve the quality of lives. I'm not here to tell anyone, hey, do this, it'll change your life. Who's it up to me? I'm not here to tell anyone that. I want them to come to their own conclusion. And you do that through the power of storytelling, you know? And it's so powerful. And as you get better and better at this, you'll just find like, not only will your business improve, but the impact that you can have, you know, on whatever you want to impact in your life is absolutely phenomenal. And it is an artwork, it is a skill, guys. And it was really, I was trying this stuff for years. Literally, I was like, marketing's full of shit. It doesn't work. I'm posting all this good stuff. And then I paid $4,500 for the same script that you guys have in Mumba. I used it, and all of a sudden, people like, dude, that post was exactly about me. Like I had about 30 or 40 people reach out to me, and I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't know what I didn't know, you know. And so that's it. Like if your content's not connecting, it's because you're missing the stuff. You're missing it. You don't have that skill developed yet. But I guarantee you can develop it. And when you do, you'll just be like, holy shit. Like, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. And you'll be absolutely amazed. Exactly, Rusty. Like, people buy people. And, you know, like, you don't even have to tell your own story. You can be telling your client's story. So let's say you're going to do a proof post, like a social proof post, and you got a before and after. Don't just put up, hey, Haley lost 20 kilos and now she's on stage being a bodybuilder. You know, that's cool, but no one really cares because there's millions of other photos like that on Instagram. But it's like, hey, look, when Haley came to me, she was struggling because she was, you know, a mum of 7 children. You know, she was overweight her entire life, but she had a bit of a dream, you know, she had a dream. And like for 2 years, she really struggled to work through this stuff. You know, she had to learn how to change her eating habits. She had to show up every day to the gym. We had to adjust her plan when, you know, her kids were jumping on her head and making her stressed out. But what she did is she kept showing up, and this is how she got around it. Here's a couple of things that Haley did to get into, you know, the best shape of her life. And here's a couple of the things that she said that she would recommend to other people. If you'd like to know more about Haley's journey, or if you'd like the meal plan that Haley used, comment below and we'll send it over to you. Cool. And see how that's so much more powerful. You know, like no one cares about before and after photos. They literally don't, but they do care about seeing someone like them have success that they want. Okay. And that's literally like all you can do. And like, you can read the book, This Is Marketing by Seth Godin, but pretty much the number one concept in there that I took from it was like people, all your audience is asking is, do people like me do things like this? And if you can answer that one question for them, they'll be calling you. Okay. Because they're like, holy shit, that gym looks like people that are like me. It's not full of Instagram people. It's not full of everyone in Lululemon. These are literally the things that people will ring up and tell us. Like, I just like your gym because everyone's not wearing Lululemon. You know, there's no mirrors there. I love that. And it's like every other gym in my area is a Lululemon gym or a like an influencer gym. And we're the exact opposite. Great thing is we're a party of one. You know, we're the only ones in the neighborhood doing it. And we're also very good at what we do. So it's like, that's how you stand out is you just be authentic, and you just got to ask yourself, who is the person I'm actually targeting? Is there enough of them? Is there 100 of those people in the world? If you don't think there's 100 people that need your service in the entire world, you probably need to look at yourself and ask yourself some harder questions, because there 100% is. And it's also, then all you have to do is go and find them. And we're on the bloody internet. It's pretty easy to find these people. Then you have to learn to connect with them. And that's, I was saying to, I was talking about to the boys about how Trent's done with his business. And I was like, literally this stuff is so simple. Like what we're teaching you is very, very simple. It's not easy, but once it clicks for you, it becomes very, very simple. All you have to do is answer that question. Do people like me do things like this? and then be able to give them an offer that they cannot refuse and get them into a DM and you're away. Cool. Guys, just take yourselves off mute for a second. Everyone unmute. Cool. Let's all give Abbey a clap. Well done. That was absolutely brilliant, Abbey. Congratulations, mate. Like, very, very proud of you, mate. That was very well done. Did you guys get a lot of value from that?
That was sick.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and this is what we're trying to this is what we want, guys. And like, I'd love for you guys, any of the stuff that you learn and you'd love to present on later on down the track, let us know, because that's what it's about. Like, when you're learning something, if you can go and teach it, your learning becomes even deeper and your skill acquisition comes even faster. Rusty, that's a very cute dog. Sweet team. Have a great weekend. Once again, Abbey, well done, mate. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.
Awesome work. Cheers.
Sweet.
You
Thanks.
guys.
Stay
Bye.
on for a minute, Abbey.
Hey?
Stay on for a minute.
Okay.